welcome to Exploring Southern Oregon's Roads. Today, right now I'm doing the intro here in Central Point. I've got my snow tires on. As you can totally see, it's kind of wintry out here today. So I expect to see some windshield wiper action, and I'm hoping to do a little snow driving. I also have, if you can tell or can't tell, doesn't matter too much, I guess, but I did put the spacer back in my exhaust so it makes a little bit more sound, but it's not obnoxiously loud. So my plan today is I'm going to go drive out past Jacksonville into the Applegate. There's a road, Upper Applegate Road, I believe it is. I'm going to run down that to Applegate Lake. I'm going to pass by Applegate Lake and start the recording for the actual exploration video today. A little bit up above, probably at Applegate Lake. I probably started at the first of the parking lots. There's a overlook, kind of where the I don't know what it's even called. There's a big concrete structure that sticks out into the lake, just behind the dam at the deepest point of the lake. There's no water in it right now, other than some minimum amount, but there's a structure there you can actually walk out on, and it goes out into the kind of middle of the lake, and that has a little restroom and a day use area and stuff there. So I'm gonna go to that, and I'll start the video there. I've taken some precautions today. I do have some boots, so if I have to walk in the snow, my feet will stay dry. I put my snow tires on. I've already been up in the mountains in this area, so it's really not exploration, but I've been up there in the snow already. There was barely any. I'm hoping there's more now, but it's not insurpassable. I also have water and food and a couple of jackets, safety vest, cell phone, battery bank, etc. So it's not a very strenuous drive. There's also going to be some cows, most likely, and also there will be some fire damage in the area I'm going to. So if you don't want to see any, and when I'm talking fire damage, I'm talking trees, not homes. So if you don't really want to see cows or snow or some burned trees, this might not be the video for you. But otherwise, I do hope you stick around and enjoy it. It shouldn't be too long. It's not a very long road, I don't think. I'm also going to be testing out an app on my phone where I'm going to try and make a GPS track of where I drive, but my phone is unfortunately low on battery, and I can only charge either the GoPro or the phone. I can't charge both. So I'll give that a shot. No guarantees it's going to work. I'm going to go ahead and cut out here until we get, because this is a long drive, and I don't think people want to watch me drive through Jacksonville. Catch you soon. Well, here we are at Applegate Lake. There's a little more water than there was the last time I was here, but actually that's considerably more. Go ahead and turn that. windshield wipers on intermittent, and hopefully that won't be too terrible. Okay, it's actually filling up pretty quick. I was gonna go down the boat ramp, just to give a little idea. It's a little warmer up here than I was counting on, so get as much snow as I was hoping for. This will give me an opportunity to drive almost as far around the lake as is possible, but notwithstanding a cut off to the other side, which I'll point out when I drive past it. It's right below the campground, which we'll be kind of cruising through. Enjoying having the exhaust slightly more audible, but I'm gonna have to actually get a real exhaust on this thing, is that kind of whistle sound that it makes when the floor is obnoxious. Let's go ahead and turn that off manually. This is an underwater part of the year. At the beginning or middle of spring, usually this is water would be over the top of the truck here. So this, what I'm driving on is kind of a crushed gravel, and whoever maintains this, I think it's a state park, they lay that down and maintain it, because this is actually a boat launch. There's a parking area on the right. Now this isn't typically used year-round. This boat launch is used more when the levels are really low. And that's because this is the paved part here. And I am definitely not driving out into that mud. I did already, and it was a bit of a nightmare. I might put a tire in it or two, but you know. Oh yeah, the deep gouge that I made last time is still there. But yeah, so that's pretty much the I mean, the water is probably about 10 foot below the bottom of the boat launch here. Time I've ever been here, not seen anyone else. So now I'm going to head around the other end of the mud puddle, aka lake here, and then we'll start exploring some roads up in the apparently someone followed me down here. Go exploring a little bit, although I've already been up there, and the road that I do want to actually explore is closed right now by the Forest Service, and that's a sign across the road, with some caution tape and concrete. I'll point it out. I won't be that guy and move that aside and go past it anyways. That's kind of asking for trouble. Also, a little note, there's going to be cow pies, most likely, all over in the road in a few places. I learned that if you drive through those a few times, and then you get underneath your vehicle to do something, you know, get one of them whole face guards, because it kind of sucks when some dirt falls off the bottom of your vehicle into your mouth, and you have to wonder... Last time when I was up here and there was snow in the mountains above, it was about 10 degrees cooler, so it probably won't be much snow on the road, but I got my fingers crossed. There are 3 paved boat launches up here. One of them's in the day use area. One of them's an actual, well, 2 of them are actual boat launches by themselves. There's nothing else there. One of them's in a campground type thing. And believe it or not, I've been down 2 of the 3 to the water and into the water before, but not the one in the campground. I've seen it, but I've never been down it. So on the left here is the road that goes kind of around the lake. On the opposite side, it's dirt. Then the road on the right is the entrance to a day use area, which I haven't actually seen open in a while. COVID. And then up ahead, it turns to dirt, and the road splits. To the right is the campground, and to the left is a road that I'll explore another time. I've been up it, but it was 10 years ago. I have no idea where it goes. So on the right, we're going to go through a campground and then up into the mountains. And I actually don't know where this road ends, if it does. There's a few paved bridges on it, which is kind of nice. Scare them too much. I know my face isn't that great, but it's not that scary either. I guess depending on who you ask, though. But yeah, there were some cows up here before. I'm trying to go a little slower when I get further up, closer to where they're at, so I don't scare them too much, because, you know, cows. Wow, that mud puddle got much larger since I was up here a week ago. It's almost a lake. I rocked back and forth in it to clean the cow pie off the tires. Might have to do that again if it's not too deep. See from the temperature outside that we're not going to hit any snow up here. It's too warm. Put my sunglasses back on here. Let's continue. Not sure what the weather is going to do today. It's almost 50 degrees right now here. That's a new rattle. I think the center console in this thing is replaced. Supposed to get heavy rain and snow today. Snow in the mountains, rain in the valleys, and up the sides of the valleys too. But instead we got a lot of wind, both last night and this morning. Which is why I thought something in my seat broke, and then I realized that was my butt. It popped. Anyways, I didn't see anything about a wind warning for this morning or last night, but we did get some wind both last night and this morning. It wasn't terrible, at least not where I lived, but, you know, it did blow quite a bit. It didn't rain very much. There's barely a trickle coming through the creek. Here's one of the cool bridges on this road. I love it. It's got this like metal diamond plate on it. big spot off on the left there. And I've been up here, and people like to go swimming off the right. I think the water up here is really cold. This also is a bit treacherous for swimming at times. If it gets really high flow rates, it's scary, but there's a couple nice deep pools that you can swim in. But I think it's really cold no matter what time of year. It's all snow melt or runoff right now. There's no snow to melt. Like this, I would prefer to leave the camera on the hood outside. Then I can ramble to myself like edge it all I want. It doesn't get caught on the camera. But when it's raining like this, I think it needs to be inside because I use a wind slayer on the camera, and I don't want it to get moldy. And there's no way to protect it from rain outside. Not to mention that when there's mud puddles like this, it just sometimes you hit them wrong and it splashes everywhere. I put a socket extension in my back pocket, forgot about it, and sat down, and I remembered it in a very quick hurry, and that spot that I bruised still hurts pretty bad. That hurt. I don't know how fast it looks in the camera, but I'm only going 20. Some roads off on the left down here. I don't know where they go. I'm assuming most of them are just going to more camping sites, but they might also be fire access roads for the Forest Service. I don't know. precautions and etc. and brought some warnings and alerts and, you know, bewares. And it's mostly just common sense stuff. If you're not experienced driving in the snow, driving up into the mountains as your first experience of driving on the snow is not a good idea. Driving a vehicle that isn't capable of driving in the snow, up into the mountains in the snow, is also not a good idea. Being unprepared for snow and driving up into the snow in the mountains, not a good idea. So if you have a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive vehicle that doesn't have a lot of ground clearance, and you don't have snow tires on it, and you want to go exploring up in the mountains when it's snowed, don't. There are many vehicles capable of exploring snowy roads up in the mountains, and if you don't have one, just don't do it. I also suggest not coming up during an active storm. Or when a storm is even forecast, because you can go from finding yourself on a road that's like this, no snow, just kind of wet, and then you go up further and then it starts really dumping snow all of a sudden. Temperature drops and suddenly you turn around and you're in over a foot of fresh snow, and if you were not prepared for that, you can get stuck and then you have to hike out, and if you don't have good winter boots, you can lose toes, you can lose your life. So I'm prepared for snow. I've got my winter boots, I've got my snow tires on, and I've got some experience in this particular vehicle up in snow. So I'm not really overly concerned about it. Snowshoes would be even better. And it looks like they've reopened that road. So there's a road on the left here. There's a bridge. Last time I came up here, it was blocked off. They must have cleared it. We're also now getting to the point where we're possible to see cows. Their presence are going to be visible in the road. It looks like they've all washed away for the most part. But yes, this sign just saying burned area, flash flooding, debris flow, and loose rocks are possible hazards. This road's... The only thing I'm worried about is trees coming down on the road. There was a lot of wind. Heavy winds in areas around here last night and this morning. So that's what I'm going to be worried most about. Debris in the road. I mean, that's always a hazard up here. And that's the reason I never would suggest bringing a vehicle with low ground clearance up here, is having driven a car with low ground clearance on roads like this. Every little rock like this one is scary. You don't want to rip your oil pan off your car up here, because it's not a good time. I got ground clearance on this, so I'm not too worried. This was the point where I started hitting snow last weekend. I also found a couple of cows. Speak of the devils. Little cow, big cow. There's going to be a couple more around the turn here. There's a big group of them. Actually, there's a small group, but there's a couple. I think Mama wants to go further up into the mountains and up the road here, and the little baby cow's like, nope, stay further down. I kind of startled him last week. The little baby was further down, and it ran towards Mama. I gave him a lot of room. I'm not particularly fond of cows, but I also would not intentionally be cruel to an animal, so. Try to go slow and give them room. That way you really don't startle them or make them, well, I don't think cows really get angry. I'm sure you'd have to really try to get at them when they're... And these are cows. I don't think there's any bulls up here, so... And all, generally bulls are pretty docile too, so... You can maybe find an ornery one. Most of the little rocks down in the road, tiny little itty-bitty boulders, are not actually that fresh. Most of these were here the last time I drove up. The rain is kind of hiding it, but there was burnt. The bottoms of the trees were showing burned last time I came up here in places, and now it's pretty uniformly. Water is covering that. Yeah, here you can kind of see it on the right. And this is where some of the most intense burning down low started, looks like. I don't know if the fire started low and ran up, or if it came from the top and it burned down. Those two rocks are new in the road there. Yeah, this all burned. On the right here, yeah. I'm surprised we haven't seen the other cows yet. There's some of their presence in the road. I think maybe during the day they go up, and then when it gets cold at night they move back down. And this was all snow last time I came through here. There was a good inch of snow on the ground. Maybe this wasn't burned this year, because I see there's a lot of cover back on the ground, so this might have been a previous burn. Might have been from last summer. There were some fires in this area, not this previous summer, the summer previous to that. There's enough brush and stuff on the ground. Looks like this is old burn. But it does show how quickly that the flora comes back, It burns, and then within a year the ground cover is back the way it was. too, I'm hoping that the camera is actually getting good enough light for decent quality. My expectations for this camera were a little higher than it was capable of delivering on, I think. Oh yeah, I'll get copyright claimed too. Dang. I'm gonna have to bleep that out now. Wasn't swearing, I was singing. I don't want to get copyright. Probably short enough. Yeah. This again is all burned here. Looks like that blew down. Yeah, it came from up above. Oh wow, look at all the debris in the road here from the wind. Must have been screaming through here. Not raining, it's just starting to snow. Kind of makes about 80% rain, 20% snow. I've always wanted to come up here and camp in the wintertime. But, you know, that probably is something to be filed under the terrible ideas category. Right up there along with singing on a YouTube channel for songs that you don't have the license to use. Man, this really got some wind. To mention too, but you really want to have a full tank of gas before coming up here if you intend to explore, regardless of summer or winter. You want a full tank of gas. I filled up before I came out here, but apparently the tank didn't get fully oh yeah, here we go. I'm just gonna go over it. I think I have room to go around it. I could probably just get out and use my foot to move that, but I don't want to get up. Check for evidence to see if people have been along the road before me, and when you see something down like that, you know there was a windstorm within the last 8 hours and there's no tire tracks going around it, then it's an indication evidence that someone's very recently been up the road in front of you, it's always a good idea to take that into consideration and slow down just a little bit if you're going a little faster, so that whoever is coming down doesn't run into you because you're going too fast. So this on the left here has burned. The camera didn't pick that up, I don't think, but that looks very fresh compared to some of the other burn scar, because there's the ground, the grass and the brush is all burnt to the ground, and there's still kind of like that black coating, ash and charcoal and soot, and nothing started growing up through it yet. Generally speaking, I prefer coming up in the mountains up here during the night, but I'm here to make a video, and this camera is unable to do night video. Even with full high beams on, it's just a little puddle of light in front of the vehicle, and you can't see anything off to the sides or beyond about 10 feet in front of the car. So yeah, I'd need to get some high-powered floodlights, and that's just, that's not really, that doesn't make sense. Those cows must have decided that standing in the road and getting pestered by cars and trucks and ATVs all day long is less desirable than getting up into the area between the road and the road above or below it, and not getting pestered constantly by cars, trucks, and ATVs is better. Now it's snowing. It's about 80% snow and about 20% rain. Temperature's dropping pretty quick now. I have an extra day off this weekend, 3-day weekend for me, so I may end up being able to come up another time and trying out that app I downloaded on my phone. I could potentially just start recording at the top. About to say that it's too warm for the snow to really stick, but that's gonna change pretty soon. It's only 34 degrees now. And if you can hear the turbo, we're going up a pretty steep uphill section, so I also did spot some cows up in this area the last time I was up here, so let's step it back a little more. I lived in Utah for a winter. I had my WRX, and I had to go drive my significant other somewhere. And it was one of those weird days where the temperature was like bizarre. Like it had snowed a whole bunch, but it was just on the very edge of freezing. Yeah, there's a cow pie. Just on the very edge of freezing. And when we left, and the roads were wet, and when we got back home, I got out of the car and I looked behind at the back of the car. There was a icicle about 2 foot long sticking off the rear bumper. And yes, this is where I was before. I turned around just up above, but there was almost 2 inches of snow on the ground outside of the turn here, But this is also, this must be 2-year-old burn scar here. The buckbrush and the ground cover is all back. Get out of the road. I love it up here though, it's so pretty. Oh, here comes the snow. It's about to start dumping any second now. I can see it blowing in on the wind. Just gonna leave the windshield wipers on. Sorry if they're distracting. Yeah, there was enough snow here that I was not very confident in my all-season tires to handle it, and that's why I turned around and put the snow tires on this morning. It would have been fine with the all-seasons. One tip I have for people that want to go from a valley into the mountains and look for snow or drive in the snow or explore, turn your windshield defroster on and get your windshield kind of warm, and then as you go into snow and it starts snowing on your windshield, it's much more difficult for that participation to freeze to your windshield. And if you kind of preheated your defroster and you start getting a little icing on your windshield, you can kick up the heat and blow that ice away really easily. Temperature's dropping again. It's 33 now. So as of this, well, I'm already exploring now. I've never been on this part of this road, so. Big, fat, dry snowflakes. I love it. Not much snow coming down. This is pretty light, but it's pretty either way. There's a road that comes off of the upper Applegate Road called Beaver Creek Road. I may have or have not done a video going up that road yet, but there's a 5 or 6-way intersection at that road, and I've always said when I go through there that I've never gone down the roads on the right, and I actually have a feeling that this may connect to that intersection on the there's some prints in the snow. Can't tell what they are. I'm actually cutting down through the snow to the dirt still. It's mostly just slush in the road. It's still 33 degrees. A friend bought me a copy of Minecraft back during alpha, and we played the heck out of that game. There were a couple of us on a server. I I can remember actually crying the first time I played the game and it started snowing in the game. So pretty. I'm reminded of that experience every time I drive in the snow or go out in the snow or see snow. Funny thing is, I don't even remember how many years ago that was, but it still has the same effect on me. If I'm running around in my house in Minecraft, and I always build a house in a snow biome, so I'll poke my head out the door or whatever, and if it's snowing, I'll just kind of stop for a few minutes and enjoy the snow. Yeah, it's a video game, but you know, it's still really cool. I really enjoy it. Driving around large rocks in the road like that is a technique that cars and vehicles with less ground clearance should utilize when driving on roads up like this. If there's a rock in the road that's potentially too big for you to drive over without hitting it, and there's no way around it, you have two options: turn around or get out and move it yourself. If you're driving on a loop, go up one road and come down another, and you find it when you're coming down, can make a short exploration drive turn into a long ordeal. And an alternative technique is that you can just drive over it, but that may not be a good idea. There are in the road here. I think bears are hibernating already, and could be a dog, could be a cougar. I don't see human prints. I don't think it's a wolf. Oh, it's a deer. Right here on the left, there's that little kind of drop off there. There's a culvert that goes underneath the road. That kind of feature in the road, you're coming up on a turn and there's a drop on the outside of the turn. That's where you can get into some serious trouble. I've got snow tires on. I've got perfectly usable traction here, but if you start sliding and you don't have snow tires on, you're going into that fall off, and you could get stuck, you know, genuinely. And that's one reason to go slow up here, and that's another reason not to come up here without snow tires. And this snow went from basically none to almost a foot deep here. I'm actually going to have to turn around because I'm very low traction. I'll press on a little more. If I'm unable to go forward, I can at least go backwards in my own tracks. That's only really true when going uphill. I'm like kicking up dirt with the snow, so it must be really wet. It's down below 32, so grease building up around where my windshield wipers don't clean the windshield. That's why I have my defroster set to hot and it's at a low setting. Getting a lot of understeer. Kind of surprising, these tires typically don't have much trouble. Must be the mud underneath the snow is kind of muddy. My English are great. If I didn't have all my camera stuff sitting on the passenger seat, I could invite someone to drive along with me and do commentary with me. So there are some tire tracks up here. Some things that I always keep in mind when I'm driving up in a situation like this is momentum and traction, and you have to balance the two. When you're going uphill, you actually have less momentum than you think you do. When you're going downhill, you have more momentum than you're probably used to. You have to balance the amount of momentum you have with how much traction that you have. And there are times when you're going to want more momentum and times when you want less. If you're going up a hill, you actually want to go just a little bit faster. When you're going down a hill, especially when you're unsure of exactly how much traction you have, you want to slow down. Yeah, you can see some of that ice kind of sliding off the roof. See, like, if someone was coming the opposite direction, I have no indication that there's anyone else up here ahead of me. But if I'm going down a hill and I'm going really fast, and I see them, I might not be able to stop before hitting them. So, excuse me. Yeah, I'm like kicking slush off the sides from the front tires, so there must still be some really wet, thick, heavy, kind of slushy snow underneath a layer of powder. When I'm going the other way, hopefully the camera will pick up how much I've kind of kicked the snow up, churned up some mud. That was a sharp rock standing straight up. It probably would not have damaged a tire, but I don't want to take a chance. And it's interesting how now it's just slush in the road, no more snow. This is the kind of place I like to build my homes in Minecraft. Find a hillside that's got lots of snow and then blow a hole straight into the side of the hill and build my house there. Yeah, weird. I do that in real life too. Not up here. Winter hasn't really even started and it's already this bad. Still standing water underneath this. just kicked up a huge cloud of steam. Water hitting the exhaust and brakes. So another thing I like to talk about too is brakes. I'm going to go right here. I think this may be the end of the road. This may be a side road. It kind of feels like it. Oh, it's going back down. So it looks like it's kind of a T intersection there. I'll go down this way a little bit, and then when I'm coming back, I'll go up. I think it's kind of going to a camping spot or something. It's really hard to tell right now if that's the main road or the side road. Or it could just be a branch. But on brakes, I like to go off-road a lot, and I've learned that there is one instance where slotted brake rotors are important. They're not necessary, but they're helpful to have, and that's when you're driving off-road and it's wet or snowy. If you get mud, especially on your brake rotors, and then you hit the brakes, slotted rotors will kind of clean the brake pad and the rotor surface and give you your braking action back real quickly, whereas solid rotor, stock OEM style rotor on non-super high performance cars, it might take a little longer for that material to get out of the way of the brakes. And I've encountered that in my last vehicle, which was not my WRX, it was a different Baja. I went through a deep mud puddle, and immediately after hit the brakes. I didn't have brakes for a good 20 seconds. I wasn't going to hit anything. I didn't hit anything, but pretty soon after that, I went out and bought some slotted rotors and some ceramic brake pads. I put them on there, and I went through another deep mud puddle, and I actually hit the brakes in the mud puddle, and they worked even underwater. So, I should say under mud water. It's about half mud, half water. So they do make a noticeable, realistic, real-world difference. That was deep. I've never run drilled rotors, so I can't really comment on those. I'd imagine that they clean better than solid rotors, but I can't imagine they clean much better. It's a piece of bark. I think I'm actually going to move this. I'd just drive right over it, but those little branches sticking up, I don't want to puncture a tire. I'll be right back. Oh, whoops. A lot of wind up further. I've also got a rattle in the motor. It's wonderful news. Running out of time. I'm gonna have to turn around pretty soon to go blue sky up there. Go for another little bit and then turn around. I'll put my cell phone on dash mount and give a shot at recording the GPS track on the way home. Oh, someone's moved this one already. They probably just drove over that other one that I moved, but that may have fallen after they came through. It's just the little tiny bits of branch that stick up vertically. Those can go through a tire. Getting a flat up here is not really on my to-do list for today. Sun's gonna make an appearance again here. Oh, there's a little present from some cows. Must be getting close to where they've wandered off to again. I don't have any experience with cattle. Oh yeah, that's blocking the whole road, and I doubt I'm gonna get that moved myself. Yep, that's a turnaround indicator. Cows are safe from me for another day. One complaint I have about this Baja is it is an absolute pain to turn around, to back up, I mean. There is such terrible visibility out the rear. Let's go back to that junction and go the other way for a little short distance. But this is interesting here because it's not snowing where I'm at, and the sun's pretty much out, except looking to my left I can see that it's dumping snow where I was before. So I forgot what I was going to talk about earlier. I'll just be quiet for a while. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get my phone going here. I don't think it's gonna try talking to me. That's my pin. My face is too ugly today. Where'd that app go? Turn on my location services, don't I? Why doesn't it have me on the map? Durr. Oh, well, that's a disappointment. It cannot find my location yet. Due to the nature of my job, I typically keep my GPS completely disabled on my phone. it would be a legal liability for me for someone to track my phone when I was at work. I mean that in a literal sense. I also wish I'd taken more time in where I place the phone mount, because that's awful. I can see also that this isn't going to work because it can't find me on my GPS. It only has one satellite. I'll do a quick look up that other road. I think it's going to turn really deep snow really quick, so that's probably a lost cause. Yeah, it still can't get a location on me. Probably should have tested this out before trying to use it while recording a video, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Kind of want to move this down slightly, but I think it's okay where it's at. I wonder if it's a problem with the app not having access to the GPS data, or if it's actually my GPS just isn't working, or it's blocked by the weather. And now you can kind of see my tire tracks from before the snow. My personal preference is that I like to try and retrace my own path, my own tracks. When it's snowy like this, especially if it's not icy, you can get better traction. Alright, I'm going to give this other GPS app a shot just to see if it's the app or if it's my phone. No, it's actually the phone cannot get a signal. There it goes. Oops, I closed it. Do that. Alright. Ah, there's the button. Okay. I'm just doing this now as a test because it's obviously not going to give me my whole drive here, but I think when I stopped in that little spot there, it gave it enough signal to lock. Neither app, the Google Maps app and the app I downloaded, neither one was able to get a signal until I stopped there, so we'll be all good now. And for the record, this kind of app can actually be really useful if you're exploring unmarked roads. Like, well, these are marked, but roads like this in the summertime or when there isn't snow. Because if you take turns or you take a wrong turn even, and now you don't know where you're at, you can actually see where you've been using this type of app, and then you can just follow the line, basically. Let's go right. Wow, this map actually has these roads on it. Okay. The road that went to the left there is not on this map. This one is. I should pay attention to the road and not the map. I might have to pull over here and switch my battery bank over to my phone because I'm draining my phone battery rather quickly. So this road goes quite a ways. I'm only going to go, there's another intersection coming up according to this map ahead of me, and I will turn around there because at this point I'm going to be late getting home. Nothing's worse than being late for dinner. Yeah, look at that, man. I'm only going 20, so I should probably turn these back on, huh? Yep. Okay, I guess we're not going that far, because yet again, I'm not gonna be moving that. And there's a spot to turn around right behind me here. Yeah, I'll do it like this. This is very risky, by the way, going like that. I should have gone back, but I wanted to see where I was going to put my rear tires, because when I'm doing it, I can't see. I have to kind of go by memory. But going off the side of the road like that, especially if there's grass, can be really slippery. I should have done that a lot slower. I can smell something's hot underneath here. Alright, well, I guess I'm just going to head home. I gotta probably just shove my way through that little tree down that back there. Just moved it by foot, but nah. I will head home. So yeah, this road that I'm on right now switches back, and there's an intersection, and I can kind of get the idea that if I went along that switchback and I turned left at the intersection, I'd wind up where Beaver Creek Road kind of ends up at that 5 or 6 or whatever way intersection up there. Turn that back off. It's at least in it. Still snowing, but it's not coming down like it was before. So yeah, you can see that where there's mud, I'm cutting through the snow and down into the mud to the dirt underneath it. But where there isn't mud, I'm actually packing the snow, and these tires are more designed to cut through it, so that's kind of interesting. Speaking of interesting, this is going to be fun. Can't just cut right across that because there's a steep drop there. Hi there, ABS. Slipped a little bit, nothing really serious. Alright. Back the way I was coming before. Hello, son. Right in the eyes you go. No, I just realized I forgot to put my rattle shutter upper back when I moved that down tree. I should shut that thing up again. drives me completely crazy. But yeah, for sure this is a lot less slippery going down than it was going up, because I'm just following my previous tracks. Looks like this tree burned this last summer. Pretty big tree. So I should have enough battery left in the GoPro to get all the way down to the bottom again, but I'll go until my phone is at about 10%, and I'll switch it over. Yeah, now we're back into that heavier snow again. Yeah, it's a little slippery there. It's not bad. Yeah, that's some snow. I just slid right off the side of the tracks without even... My WRX was so close to the ground. It was a stock suspension, it wasn't lowered, but on see, I was going a little too fast here. I recognized it in time to slow down. My WRX was so low to the ground though that not necessarily here, a little further back though, I would have been dragging the center diff and the rear differential and maybe the oil pan through the snow. This is actually pretty slippery here. Most of the rest of this should be downhill. Downhill's a little easier because you can go slower. It's amazing that this GPS app actually has these roads in it. I haven't the Google Maps, this road is not in the Google Maps app. I think the key difference is that this is an off-road map, or offline map, and it's meant to be used by hikers and people exploring. So, hey, I'm happy to have it. Having to do a lot of steering to keep it straight. Oh, that got dark quick. I might not end up coming back up here tomorrow because this is going to turn into a bit of a mess overnight. Yeah, like right through here, my WRX, something underneath it would have dragged right down the middle. You'd see the tire tracks, and then there'd be a little divot in the middle, right between the tire tracks in places. I've done that with this, but the snow has to be a heck of a lot deeper. I think it has to be almost a foot deeper. Because I think it's 8 inches more ground clearance than the WRX had. 6, I don't know. Baja is essentially a Subaru Legacy chassis modified in the back, and then the Legacy chassis was modified for the Outback, which this is actually based on as well. And as part of the modification for the Outback, they lifted the suspension 4 inches. And then for this, they modified it further and they put another 2-inch lift on top of that. 2 or 3. This is a place where a manual transmission can come in handy because I can just drop it right down into first gear like that and use the engine to keep my speed right where I want it. An automatic, you're going to have to use the brakes, and if your ABS is really sensitive, you might not have very much actual control over your speed in a situation like this. And just as a demo, I'm going 15 and I'm just going to hit the brakes. That was the quickest I could stop. I'm going downhill too, so that's counting against me, but that was the most performance I could get out of the brakes. I think I'm past the worst section from when I came up. I'm not going to let my guard down though. It's a bad idea. A little more of a burn scar here. So I think what I'm going to end up doing tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after that, is come back up here and go up that other road now that it's been reopened. Or it's showing is reopened. Huh. It seems like it cost me a lot of battery to get the GPS signal, but now that it has it, it's not going through the batteries quickly. I could probably turn the screen brightness down. It's going a little bit fast, but I think it's okay for now. Now that I'm not in the snow, I can go even quicker if I wanted. I try to limit my speed a little more going downhill, but I'm getting hungry now. I think I'm going to need to get a second battery bank. Oh, that's another thing that I would suggest bringing if you're going to come up in the mountains is a battery bank. For half the price that you spend on your phone, you could buy enough battery banks to give yourself like 2 or 3 months worth of charge. A single phone. No, it's like I bought the second to the largest battery bank they had at Best Buy. It's 15,000 milliamp hours. My phone battery is only 4,000 milliamp hours. So that's, you know, almost 4 full charges. And that's from 0. I like USB Type-C, but I'm having trouble kind of adapting to it, I guess. Oh yeah, that's right, there was that snow-free section. So I'm going uphill, so I sped up. I want more momentum. It's actually dark enough now that I need my headlights. some other videos I recorded previously. I ranted and raved. I don't know if I've uploaded them or not, but I ranted and raved about wanting a new computer system. And I actually ended up buying it. I got a Ryzen 3900X and an ASRock motherboard and a Fractal Design Meshify C mini case, Fractal Design power supply, Corsair 2TB Gen 4 NVMe SSD, Noctua NHD 15S cooler. Stats can go on, and that is a fantastic machine. I'm having a little trouble with temperatures on it, but for the most part, it's very fast. I mean, I knew it was going to be fast, but it's actually faster than I thought it was going to be. It exceeded my quite high expectations. I need to take some time and fix the voltage. The CPU is pulling a little more voltage than it should under load. It's not going to hurt it in the short term, but in the long term it could do some damage to the underlying silicon and shorten its overall life. But that's easily fixed. Just takes a little time and research. But I ended up I was going to put my 2TB hard drive in for video storage, and then my music could go on that drive, and etc. And then I have a 3TB hard drive that I was going to put in my old computer and use that as even more video storage. And I have a 1TB serial ATA SSD left over. Well, it was in my old computer, and I cleaned it off and I put it in my new computer, so I have 6 terabytes of storage. And I re-downloaded most of my games, put them all on my boot drive because it's so fast. But I kind of got lazy and I put the 3TB in my gaming rig and 2TB stayed in my old computer. And I've decided that I'm gonna be getting a Ryzen 9 5900X and putting that in the gaming rig. And then I'm gonna move the 3900X over to another rig I'm building. And that rig will be more for editing than the gaming rig, but they're both gonna do editing at the same time. Essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the second machine. I'm gonna set up an editing project on that, and once it's started I'll set up a second editing project on the other rig. And eventually, if I actually become good at editing, I'm gonna try and make some money editing. I've got a monster editing rig already. I might as well utilize it. I need to get my temperatures to come down slightly, and I want to get that voltage down just a little bit more. I'm starting to get down underneath that freezing layer again. Freezing level. It's warming up just a touch. And this snow coming down is a little bit more wet. But it won't be for long. When I came up, I believe the temperature was 33 here. It's already under 32 now. If this continues for the next 3 hours, there will be at least 3 feet of snow up here tomorrow. If this continues all night, there will be 3 feet of snow up here. this continues for the next 3 or 4 hours, it'll be at least a foot. But then again, tomorrow it probably will get warm again and most of it will melt. And so, for reference, if my car broke down or my truck broke down where I turned around the first time up there, it's a 5-mile walk to this point. That plastic on plastic rattle. Whew! Now it's coming down. Baby. If it does this for the next 3 hours, there will be 3 feet of snow up here. It's above freezing now, but just barely. And I have purchased all the components for my new computer except for 2. I intend to buy a second SATA SSD for my new computer, which will leave me one more spot for an extra drive in the future. And graphics card hasn't launched. Well, it's launched, but it hasn't gone up for sale yet. And even if it had, they'd be sold out. I think I was lucky to get my 3900X. And I'm glad that I did, because there was no guarantee my new motherboard would be able to support the new CPUs, the 5900X, yet, because the motherboard has to have a BIOS version newer than a GISA 1.01. Mine had 1.011 out of the box. It has 1.1113 now, something like that. I updated the BIOS, which was actually helpful. It helped me drop my temperatures a little bit. But I needed the 3900X anyway, just to get into the BIOS to update it at the very least. And for right now, that CPU is an absolute monster. I kind of pooped myself a little bit when I opened up Task Manager and realized that I had 24 threads. I didn't realize it was 12 core, 24 threads. I thought it was 10 core, 20 threads, or 16 core. But no, that's the 5950. I might get a 5950. I'd probably want to do water cooling with that, though. Be pretty cool. 16 core, 32 threads. That's way more than I need, and that would end up making it into a better editing rig than the 3900X. And the 5900X is going to do that anyways. And I've even been thinking about getting the Ryzen 5 instead of the Ryzen 9. But I think I'm set on the Ryzen 9. It's my freaking money and I can spend it how I want. I'm going to get the Ryzen 9 5900X. I also found out after everything arrived that there's a performance change between there's a performance difference depending on how much memory and what RAM slots it's in. And I heard that news and everything was either in the mail or had already arrived, and I kind of died a little bit inside because my memory kit was not cheap. It wasn't very expensive, granted, but it wasn't cheap. I bought 32 gigabytes of memory between 2 sticks, and the information came out in a second video from Steve from Gamers Nexus that 4 sticks, 8 gigs each for 32 gigabytes was what he thought was a sweet spot. He spoke with some other people and they found out that 2 sticks at 16 gigs each is actually better, which is what I had coming at that point. So I was able to unclench my gut and relax. It's been pretty darn... Hey, there's those cows. I think I can sneak by right on the right side of the road here. Let him get a little room here. I think he doesn't like the sound of my exhaust. So yeah, I give them a little room and they calm down. Oh, there's 2 little ones. It's so dark now, I don't know if the camera's picking any of this up at this point. Hi. Hi there. There's probably one more with a calf further down. What really sucks is when they stand in the middle of the road and go, "What are you doing?" I was expecting to get about the same performance as my old computer did in video games for right now, because of the simple fact that my graphics card is the same. I retained the same card, and yet in some video games, actually in every video game I've tried so far, I've actually gotten close to double the performance just from upgrading the CPU. And that actually kind of shocked me. You know, double the performance and at higher quality settings to boot. It's impressive to me. And it kind of makes me think that maybe that old system, the CPU, was really holding back the graphics card. Although from what I looked into that, and it didn't really seem like it. It didn't. Yeah, regardless. Well, now that I figured out how to use this app on my phone, it actually is more... I guess I should reserve some judgment on it. What I need to know is how difficult it is to move the map itself from my phone over to my editing computer so that I can add it into the video. And I don't know if it's even possible. I mean, I could take a screen cap and do that. Whatever. It would be kind of nice to have it on a computer program so that I could manipulate it on the video, or take a couple of zoomed in shots from interesting areas or something. I guess I could get a program that would let me actually record the image on my screen, and then I could sync it up with my actual driving, and then it would have like a little synced up map along with the video. It's a cool idea. I don't know how that would work. Now that I have this map though, it's actually pretty fantastic. It has most of these side roads on here, and I've never really seen that from an app on my phone. I had to download the map separate. I might do California because I might end up in California a little bit. Oh, I'm trying to turn the brightness on it down. There we go. bright it was giving me a headache. I should have pulled over to do that. This way you don't drive while you're distracted. And then on that note, I need to move it down slightly on its mount. So, give me just a second here. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. I'm not trying to turn you in the... There we go. It uses a pair of high-load springs to actually clamp the phone in place. Works pretty well. Kind of creaky though sometimes. I'll live with it. Yeah, should have paid a little more attention to the time. Whoops. Buy a white cloth for tonight. Oh, I can't have those yet. Dang it. Oh, that was satisfying. I couldn't tell you how far that water got blasted, but it was more than a couple of feet, that's for sure. I think what I really need to do is get a second or third. I need to get a second Hero 7 Silver and then a Hero 7 Black or even a Hero 8 Black. It's a little bit more than I bargained for. And put the 7s facing out the sides and then the silvers facing out the sides and then the black facing out the front for primary video. And I can switch from one to the other because there's like really pretty views out the sides occasionally, and this camera mount I have just will not. I was thinking that's a great idea, I should do that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like another $500 in video equipment. I think I might have to pass on that for now. And then I triple my amount. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work. I tripled the amount of data my data storage requirements. I'm actually going to be getting 8 or even a 10 terabyte hard drive pretty soon. Oh, I forgot that I was going to do that too. So I'm going to have a gaming editing rig and then an editing rig, and then I'm going to have my old computer, and I'm not going to just recycle or sell it. It's got a Xeon in it, so, you know, it's got a Xeon with a Noctua NHD15S on it. It's got a massive overkill CPU cooler, basically. I was going to put, I was going to buy a small thumb drive, put FreeNAS on it, and remove the graphics card and put a bunch of hard drives in it, like 10 terabyte drives, and turn it into a storage server. I gotta get the second machine first. Put it in a closet or something with just 2 cables coming out the back of it, Ethernet power, and without a graphics card in there it would barely sip electric. I probably would need to invest in a higher powered power supply, or a higher efficiency power supply for it. But at the 650 that it's got is basically rated for bronze. I think might just be 80 plus. My gaming rig power supply is a 760 watt fractal design, 80 plus titanium. I don't know how they were selling them that inexpensive, but they were half the price of the Seasonic titanium. Then again, the Seasonic titanium was 900 watts. I didn't need that much power. I'm hoping that the 6800 XT that I want to get when it finally goes up for sale and comes available, more than 2 seconds, I'm hoping that those are a little bit less intense on the power supply requirements, because I don't want to get a 850. Oh, there's that other cow and calf. They're just chilling. Yeah, I don't want to get another power supply for that machine. I don't want to go over 750 watts. So interesting. It doesn't actually show that side road, which is okay. If I drive up it, I can... Oh no, it does. I had to switch back. That's why I didn't see it. Brightness is also all the way down, so... I don't know, that... be about a 3-hour hike to get down here from where I was. I'm thinking about 3 hours, there's gonna be a couple inches of snow down here. I have a much better kind of gut feel on this app than I did on the other one. The developer wasn't based in Russia. Hurting a little bit for time, so I'm going to kind of push the speed up a little bit. Now that I know where all the cows are too, on the straight part, so I can push the speed up just a touch. Driving through a giant freaking cow pie while pulling a little pop-up trailer and splattering all over the side of it. And again, I hope the video quality isn't completely useless. Sorry for that rattle, it's super annoying. That one I know I can't fix, it's the center console. I'd have to take it out entirely and replace it. I just don't want to spend that kind of money right now on the truck. I guess I could take it apart and jam some felt in there, but then it won't quite click back together right now. I think some of the clips are already broken. Someone's taken it out, probably to do a transmission removal. It's possible the previous owner had a short shifter in here. You have to take the trim out to get that out. Short shifter put in there. pretty apparent that any time that previous owner touched this thing, they didn't take any care of what they were doing. Some of these are fun to drive through, and others are painful. I like to go kind of slow coming on here because the metal gets kind of warped, the edge, and going slow entering the bridge is a little less damaging to that metal. Less wear. Funny looking at the map because where I was about 15 minutes ago looks on the map to be like right next to where I'm at right now, but then you look that direction and it's a steep hill. Go ahead and use that really big mud puddle down at the bottom again to kind of clean off the bottom of my truck. When I did that with the other tires on it, it actually cleaned out the wheels, and that is something I find valuable. So. Bring everyone along for the ride on that. It's not very exciting, but effect this has had on me is I don't get vacation this year, 2021. I won't have vacation time. I don't have any right now. I'm literally using it today, unwillingly, but still. I think this was the last bridge. There's a cow pie on the bridge too. It's quite flat now. It's a cow pie. Would you like two patties or one? There's some quail. Make up your mind, little birds. I don't want to cross. Okay. They flew over my vehicle. to about a 4-hour hike to get back to this point. Farthest up that I was. Oh, my spine. Oh, I should have gone a little slower through there. My spine, I want it back. Extra food that I got for my drive today is starting to look really appealing now. Trick you can use in vehicles with a stiffer suspension is if you're going too fast and there's a pothole or something in the road, if you can kind of swerve and transfer the weight of your vehicle to the opposite side, you can sometimes lessen the severity and reduce damage to your vehicle when you hit it. It doesn't really work in the Baja because the suspension's a little softer than WRX's, and it tends to just want to understeer instead of actually darting to the side like that. I also suggest not hitting the brake while you're hitting a bump, if you can help it. I've heard anecdotally that people say it can damage your brakes, but I have never experienced that personally, so it's just something I've heard. Hope this camera's getting at least some of the detail from this. Guess this will be a good test of its intermediate low-level light capacity. It's back up to 40 here. It was almost 50 when I was up here earlier. Temperature is definitely dropping. Sun's not even down yet. Well, it is here. It's behind the mountain. People that live in places that are completely flat don't understand what it's like living in a valley, especially a valley that has sharp sides and it's really deep. Except during the wintertime, you might only get a few hours of daylight. And I mean like 5 or 4 even. The sun will rise on the opposite side of the valley wall, but if you're down in the bottom of the valley, sunlight doesn't quite get down to you. And it actually can make it stay really cold in some of those valleys, sometimes all through the whole day. And you'll get fog that'll get kind of trapped down in the bottom, and then the sun has to burn that fog off to get down to the bottom of the valley. So morning 4 a.m. rolls up and the fog starts to get really thick, and then the sun starts hitting the top of the fog at 4 p.m. and then at 6 p.m. it's set. Probably not like that bad. Also shows the tributaries to the creek on the right. I guess that could be... Oh, that was a big splash. That made it all the way into the creek, I think. It could be useful if you're wilderness hiking and you're not sure how you're going to get through a low area. You can kind of see where this app thinks that the excuse me, thank you. You can see where the I'm drawing a blank. I give up. There we go. If you're hiking in the wilderness and you're coming up on a low area, you can see potential places to cross without getting too bad and going through too deep of water. Here's my mud puddle I'm going to use to clean my wheels. It's probably a little too deep to go all the way through it, but I can get a little bit of it in there. I'm not going to be too crazy here. Just imagine that going into my muffler. Actually, it might. Well, thank you for sticking around on my rather long drive today. That was 15 miles each way. So, enjoy the rest of your day, I guess. I'm tired and hungry and I want to go home.